Hey guys, this is Matt and you're watching TV Punch for Thursday, November 12th, and today I'm going to be talking about Arrow Season 4, Episode 6, titled Lost Souls. I'm going to run through a couple quick hits and then the major plot points of this episode, so with that said, be careful for spoilers. If you haven't watched the episode yet, pause this, go watch it, come back, you'll be glad you did. A couple quick hits I want to run through. Just some things I thought were cool. The first one, I thought it was a little funny, Oliver and Felicity getting into a little lover's quarrel while Oliver and the rest of Team Arrow is in the field on a mission. The best part about it was the rest of the team's reaction to it because they're talking on comms. Felicity thinks that she's just talking to Oliver, but everybody else can hear it too. The next thing is Oliver and Diggle getting a boys' night. They're hanging out in the Arrow Cave. We haven't seen Oliver and Diggle hang out, just the two of them together, in a long time. Kind of reminded me of the early episodes of Season 1 when it was just the two of them in the Foundry. So the two of them are hanging out, drinking whiskey, and talking about woman trouble. Who hasn't been there? So that was really cool. I wish we would get more of that. So I guess maybe Diggle has a code name now. So Felicity referred to him as Spartan right before she was about to jump through the window with Curtis. She couldn't use his real name because Curtis was on the mission with them. I don't know if that is what's going to be his code name going forward. I kind of think that it is. It's not a bad name at all. I think it kind of fits. Kind of wish it would have been Guardian. That's what everybody's been wanting, but we're not going to get that. They've said as much. So Spartan, if that does in fact stick as his code name, I like it. So moving on to the major plot points, this episode is all about saving Ray. So at the end of last episode, Felicity decoded his message saying that he was alive. She tells the rest of Team Arrow about this, and they find out he's being held by Damien Darhk, and he's itty bitty. And they find out later that he wants the Dwarf Star powering Ray's suit for something that I'll talk about in a few minutes. But, so yeah, they've got to rescue him from Damien. They also need to restore him to normal size, which involves them building a device conveniently. There's a device that can restore Ray to his size, but they're missing a part. So they have to break into Cord Industries to steal this part, which they do. They bring Sarah along. So, you know, she was resurrected in the really cool episode with Constantine last week. They bring her along. She nearly beats a guard to death, so she's suffering from the same bloodlust as Thea, but they manage to stop her. They get away with the part. They build a device, but then they have to go rescue Ray from the clutches of Damien Darhk in his stronghold. I kind of thought the rescue was a little bit underwhelming. We do get a cool round 2 between Oliver and Damien Darhk, and Oliver gets his ass kicked again, which I'm okay with because Damien Darhk apparently is very powerful. He's got these mystical powers, and Oliver doesn't know how to combat that yet. So I like that once again Oliver gets beat down by Damien. He manages to escape, and he's very clever in that regard, but he just can't take him down yet, which is nice because I have no idea how Oliver is going to end up beating him, how Team Arrow is going to end up beating him. So I'll talk about that in a minute. I think we're starting to get fed some clues as to how that's going to happen, but we don't know exactly yet. They bring Sarah along with the rescue mission again, but she's kind of underused in this episode. They made such a big deal out of saving her last week. They finally do. She's back to normal, sort of. And I thought it's kind of weird that she's ready to go back in the field and don the Black Canary gear so quickly again after being resurrected. But the way she explains it, she's ready to get back to normal, and this is her normal. But yeah, she wants to kill people just like Thea did or does. They didn't really use her to her full potential, I guess because they were focused on something else. But they get Ray back. This was all a big setup for Legends of Tomorrow. They've been doing this in Arrow and The Flash for the last several weeks, and so we've got Ray back. We see that Sarah's back to almost normal, so that's setting the two of them up to be in the show. Listen, I'm totally on board for Legends of Tomorrow. I think it's going to be really cool. I'm very excited to see it, but I'm ready to be done with the setup. I want to move past this. I understand that they have to set up for Legends of Tomorrow. You can't just throw this huge cast of characters together with no reason, with no backstory. I get it. But that's not to say that I'm ready to be done. And it looks like next week we're going to get back to Arrow, back to the story that they're trying to tell with Arrow, with Hive and Damien and Diggle's brother and all that cool stuff. But we didn't get a lot of that in this episode. It was all about Ray, a little bit of Sarah. Great, that's fine. Let's move on. The other big plot point to this episode, the only other really major one, is Oliver and Felicity having relationship trouble. So that doesn't sound too exciting, right? And I didn't love this. Felicity realized that she was getting lost in being with Oliver. She blames herself for Ray getting kidnapped. She says she wasn't there when he was trying to send her messages because she was off traveling the world with Oliver, and she blames herself. And this all kind of came out of nowhere. And listen, I'm cool with relationship drama, especially in CW shows. CW gets a lot of flack for being all about relationships and drama and lovey-dovey stuff, and I understand you have to have some of that. And I've been very patient with the will they, won't they thing with Oliver and Felicity, Oliver and Laurel, and Oliver and Sarah, and whoever else. But this was a little bit much. You know, Ray is in trouble. They're trying to rescue him, and yet Oliver and Felicity are having fights about Felicity's mom, who's also in the episode. I didn't mention that. Of course, that Felicity's mom being in the episode wasn't a major plot point, but she was there. Oliver and Felicity have a squabble. They do make up at the end of it, but I have a feeling that they're planting the seed. This was the first little tiny seed that they're planting to break them up. Last season was a big will they, won't they get together, and they seemed really cute together, and everybody wanted them to get together, and maybe I was one of those people. But it made sense. And when they finally got together, I was like, yeah, this feels right. But this episode was different. Like, they felt like strangers almost. Like, this was the first episode, really, that I felt like they really didn't belong together. And I kind of wonder if that's clever writing. Like, the writers are wanting to make us start to question and doubt this relationship so that when it ends, we're cool with it. I shipped Olicity. I'm not afraid to admit it. But I'm kind of over it. If their relationship continues the way it did in this episode, then yeah, I'm done with them. I want them to split up. And especially with I kind of thought last week we got a little bit of a seed of Oliver and Laurel starting to get back together. Maybe they're just, I think maybe it was more them just rekindling their friendship, which is good. They need to do that. But I don't know. There's relationship stuff going on. I'm cool with it. Let's dial it back a bit. And let's focus on, let's make Oliver a little bit more of a badass. I kind of think they've went too far to the other side of not being grim and gritty. And Oliver is now, I think I saw a comment somewhere saying he's like Beaver Cleaver. I don't know that I'd go that far. He's definitely not the ruthless killer that he was in season 1, but he seems like he's lost a little bit of his edge. And I want to see them find that healthy balance, and I don't think they're there yet. One other big plot point of this episode that we only get a little taste of at the end is Damien's box. What's in the box? You know, we've been wondering that since we saw it at the end of, can't remember which episode it was, 1 or 2 weeks ago, we saw him get this box. He opens it this time, and it actually sort of unfolds into this flat thing that looks like it has all this weird circuitry in it, but we don't know what it is. Kind of looks like it might be a mix of mystical and scientific stuff. I don't know what it is, but like I said, Damien needs Ray's dwarf star to power it, and they were able to get just enough of it before Ray escaped. So that is what I'm really interested in all this mess that we had in this episode. What is that box? What is he going to do? Because that looks really cool. I can't wait to find out more about that. Going back to Felicity's mom for a minute, she is in town this episode. Oliver invited her, and at the end, she runs into Detective Lance, or Captain Lance, and they have a drink together, but they don't know who each other is, so I don't know what's going to come of that. It's more relationship stuff that I'm getting a little bit tired of. I don't know if Felicity's mom's going to be recurring or if she's going to show up a little bit more. Just based on the 5 minutes they were together, they seem kind of cute, so we'll see what happens there. So the last thing to talk about in this episode is the flashbacks. So they've been a little dull this season. We don't really know how they are going to fit in the grand scheme of things. Not that they have to, but they always have before. And I think we're starting to get a little bit of a hint as to how they are going to tie in. So we learned last episode, and we get a little bit more this time around, that Baron Ryder is interested in the mystical stuff. And at first glance, it seems like they're making drugs on the island. But maybe that's just a front. They sort of think about this. They theorize this episode is maybe it's a front for something bigger. Maybe the drugs are to give them an excuse to be on the island because the island has mystical properties, and Baron Ryder's interested in this. In the first episode of the season, Oliver isn't very surprised when he sees Damien Darhk do his mystical thing to one of the Hive soldiers. And he says he's seen things, but we don't know what those things are. I think that the flashback of this season is going to be the things that he saw. We're going to see the things that he saw. So, and I think that he's going to use that to defeat Damien Darhk at some point, somehow. I don't know how yet. And I'm not saying that Oliver's going to become mystical and do all this magic stuff, but I think that this season's worth of flashbacks is where he learns that there are supernatural things at work, that there are mystical forces out there, and he's going to use that with the help of Team Arrow to defeat Damien at some point. But I think that's the point of the flashback. I think it's all going to tie together. I think that the mysticism that Damien has and whatever it is that gives Damien his powers, I think it's going to tie back to what we're seeing on the island at some point. Now, I don't know how the woman that Oliver saved is going to play into it. I think she is going to have a part in that as well. Maybe she knows about this mystical stuff, but I think that's how the flashbacks are all tying in together, is whatever Damien's doing, Oliver's seen it and can use that knowledge that he got from the island. So that's it for this week, guys. Not my favorite episode, but again, looks like next week we're going to get back to the true story that they're trying to tell in just Arrow. I'm excited about that. I'm going to cover it and everything else. So if you want to see those videos, be sure to subscribe by clicking the button below. If you're not watching this on YouTube, you can check it out at youtube.com/nerdpunch. Of course, you can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook, both of those at nerdpunch. You can go to nerdpunch.com, where we are posting other cool stuff that we find online, and you can also check our schedule for upcoming videos. We've been doing a lot of gameplay recently. We've been a little behind on episodes. I'm going to do Flash and Supergirl. I've still got those coming up. It's been a crazy week, so those will be posting, but just a little later than normal. But they'll be there soon. So thanks for watching, guys, and until next time, I'll talk to you later. See ya.